What if the very things you avoid are the keys to unlocking your greatest potential? Think about it for a moment. We all crave growth. We all imagine becoming stronger, wiser, more capable. Yet true transformation rarely happens within the warm and familiar borders of our comfort zones. The reality is simple, but not always easy to face. The life you want is waiting on the other side of discomfort. Stop playing small. Your comfort zone isn't protecting you, it's quietly shrinking your life. And I'm here to show you why. Integrating Stoic principles isn't about becoming emotionless or shutting yourself off from the world. Instead, it's about building an inner fortress, a resilience so deep that you can face challenges head-on. It's about becoming someone who is unshaken, not because the world is easy, but because you have learned to endure what it brings. So let's begin here at the place most people never leave, the illusion of safety. Comfort zones feel good because they give us predictability. They shield us from the unknown. They whisper promises of peace, of stability, of ease. But beneath that surface, there is a hidden cost. Comfort may offer short-term relief, but in the long run, it breeds stagnation. It keeps you circling the same small territory, never discovering what lies beyond. Growth requires expansion, and expansion requires discomfort. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that adversity was not an interruption to life, but the very path of it. To him, obstacles were not roadblocks but stepping stones. Each hardship carried within it the seed of growth. Epictetus, who began life as a slave, knew suffering firsthand. His teachings echo with clarity. External hardships are not ours to control, but our response always is. He taught that it is not the difficulty itself that harms us, but the story we tell ourselves about it. And then there is Seneca, who practiced what he called voluntary discomfort. He would sleep on the floor, eat plain food, dress simply, not because he had to, but because he wanted to train his mind, to remind himself that he could endure, that luxury was not a necessity, and that strength is forged in moments of intentional challenge. These thinkers did not flee discomfort. They sought it. They used it as a teacher. For them, life was not about clinging to ease, but about cultivating the resilience to walk boldly through the storms of existence. And here lies the paradox. The very discomfort you resist is the soil in which your strength takes root. If you remain within the walls of safety, you may feel secure, but you will never grow. Step beyond those walls, however, and you begin to uncover parts of yourself you never knew existed. This is the path Stoicism offers, not escape from discomfort, but mastery of it. And this raises a deeper question. Why is discomfort so powerful in shaping us? Why does it hold the key to our greatest growth? To answer this, we need to explore the ways discomfort rewires the mind, strengthens the body, and teaches the heart. Because only then can we see clearly. Discomfort is not your enemy. It is the sculptor shaping who you are meant to become. Discomfort is powerful because it pushes us beyond the limits we quietly impose on ourselves. Psychologically, comfort breeds complacency. It whispers that what you have is enough, that the effort isn't worth it, that tomorrow will always be there. But discomfort disrupts that illusion. It demands adaptation. When the mind is stretched by challenge, it learns new ways of thinking, problem-solving, and persevering. It is in moments of difficulty that hidden reserves of creativity and courage reveal themselves. Biology tells us the same story. Muscles grow not in rest, but in response to stress and strain. The immune system strengthens when it is tested. Our very bodies are designed to adapt to challenge. Without the resistance of discomfort, there is no growth, only decline. The same principle applies to the mind. Avoid every challenge and the mental muscle weakens. Face them, and resilience becomes second nature. On the emotional level, discomfort teaches lessons that no comfort ever could. Facing rejection teaches humility. Enduring criticism cultivates patience. Confronting fear builds courage. Emotional growth cannot happen in a vacuum of ease. It happens when the heart is stretched, when it is made uncomfortable, when it learns that pain does not have the final word. Look around you and you'll see this truth everywhere. The athlete grows through rigorous training. The student advances through the struggle of difficult lessons. The leader earns strength not in applause, but in moments of doubt and responsibility. Even in your own life, think back. The times you grew the most were not the times you were comfortable. They were the times you were tested. There are many forms of discomfort, each holding its own path to growth. Physical discomfort, such as exercise, fasting, or waking early, sharpens both body and mind. Mental discomfort, the kind that comes from learning, unlearning, and challenging your own assumptions, builds intellectual strength. Emotional discomfort, like rejection, heartbreak, or difficult conversations, fosters resilience of character. And then there is spiritual discomfort, questioning what you believe, sitting with silence, meditating on mortality. These experiences unsettle us, yet they also deepen our sense of purpose. The Stoics practiced all of these. They walked willingly into physical tests, mental challenges, emotional trials, and spiritual reflections. They understood that each form of discomfort mirrored life itself, unpredictable, difficult, but ultimately transformative. So the invitation becomes clear. Do not shy away from discomfort, but lean into it wisely. Because each time you choose the harder path, you are not just enduring, you are expanding. You are training the mind, the body, and the soul to grow beyond the limits that once held you captive. But knowing this truth is not enough. It must be practiced. The Stoics gave us not just ideas, but exercises, concrete ways to step beyond comfort zones in daily life. And that is where we now turn, to the practices that transform discomfort from something we fear into something we embrace, until it becomes the very soil of our growth. To embrace discomfort, philosophy must become practice. The Stoics did not stop at lofty words. They built exercises that trained the soul to meet hardship with strength. One of the most powerful was voluntary discomfort. Seneca urged his students to live, for a time, with less than they were accustomed to. Sleep on the floor, eat simple food, wear plain clothing, not because luxury is evil, but because dependence on luxury is dangerous. By choosing discomfort before it arrives uninvited, you prove to yourself that you can endure, and in that endurance you discover freedom. Another practice is what the Stoics called negative visualization. Close your eyes and imagine losing what you hold most dear. Not to dwell in despair, but to see clearly how fragile life truly is. By picturing the worst that could happen, fear loosens its grip. You begin to understand that while you cannot control what life may take from you, you can control your response. This makes you less afraid of loss and more grateful for what you still hold. Daily discipline was also central to their way of life. The Stoics knew that comfort grows wherever discipline fades. To resist that pull, they cultivated habits that tested their will. Rising early, working with focus, dedicating time to study, reflection, and service, these daily choices forged character. Each small act of discipline built an unshakable strength, a fortress not of stone, but of habit. Journaling, too, was an essential practice. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every morning and night, reflecting on the challenges he faced and the virtues he aspired to live by. Writing about your discomforts transforms them into lessons. The page becomes a mirror, showing you not just the struggle, but the growth hidden within it. These practices are not dramatic gestures, but small, deliberate steps. Yet their results compound over time. Each moment of chosen discomfort becomes a brick laid in the foundation of resilience. And soon, what once seemed unbearable becomes natural. What once seemed frightening becomes familiar. Still, the greatest challenge is not in the exercises themselves, but in confronting the limits you've built in your mind. The human imagination exaggerates threats. It whispers that stepping forward will break you, that the unknown will swallow you whole. But the Stoics remind us you suffer more in imagination than in reality. The walls you think are solid are often shadows. The obstacles you fear are not as great as the fear itself. Reframing discomfort is the key. Instead of seeing it as punishment, see it as preparation. Instead of calling it an obstacle, call it an opportunity. Each moment of unease is a chance to discover strength, to sharpen virtue, to move closer to who you are meant to be. And you do not need to leap recklessly into the fire. Begin gradually. Take one step outside the familiar, one act of chosen discomfort each day. Over time, the mind adapts. The body strengthens. The spirit steadies. Slowly, the fortress within is built. Once you begin to practice in this way, Stoicism ceases to be an abstract philosophy. It becomes a daily companion, shaping how you meet the world. And it is here that we see its power not just in theory, but in practice, in the way it transforms the challenges of modern life into stepping stones for growth. The power of these practices reveals itself most clearly in the challenges we face every day. Stoicism is not locked away in ancient texts. It breathes in the choices we make at work, in our relationships, in our personal growth, even in how we navigate the digital world around us. In the workplace, comfort often takes the form of avoiding responsibility, staying quiet when your voice should be heard, or clinging to routine tasks instead of daring to lead. Yet real growth is found in the moments when you step forward, taking on the project that intimidates you, speaking with honesty in meetings, facing feedback not as an attack, but as an opportunity to refine yourself. Discomfort at work is not a threat to your stability, but a doorway to your development. In relationships, the pull of comfort is even stronger. It feels easier to avoid the difficult conversation, to ignore tension, to remain silent when honesty could heal. But Stoicism teaches us that truth, even when uncomfortable, is an act of virtue. setting boundaries, addressing conflict, admitting fault. These moments sting, yet they create stronger bonds built on trust rather than illusion. Personal growth itself cannot survive without discomfort. Learning a new skill demands failure. Pursuing a passion means risking judgment. Embracing change means letting go of what no longer serves you. Each step forward requires you to face the unknown, and yet it is in the unknown that your deeper self is revealed. And then there is the society we live in, shaped increasingly by comfort-driven distractions. Social media offers the quick escape of endless scrolling, the fleeting pleasure of comparison, the shallow comfort of validation. But what does it cost? Hours lost, attention fractured, self-worth entangled in digital approval. To resist this pull is uncomfortable. To sit in silence with your own thoughts, to step away from the crowd, to live with intention instead of reaction, this is not easy, but it is freeing. True freedom does not come from avoiding hardship, but from mastering your response to it. When you choose to meet discomfort head-on, you discover a strength that cannot be taken from you. This is the paradox at the heart of Stoicism. Discomfort does not imprison you, it liberates you. The chains of fear and dependence fall away, and you are left standing firm, unshaken. Growth is not the absence of fear, but the courage to move forward despite it. The discomfort you embrace today becomes the resilience you carry tomorrow. Each challenge faced, each moment of unease accepted, expands the boundaries of your life. And in this expansion, you find not just growth, but freedom. From here, we arrive at a natural question. What does all of this mean for you right now, in this very moment? Because philosophy is only alive when it becomes personal, and the path of discomfort, as the Stoics remind us, is not an idea to admire but a practice to live. As we reflect on the power of living with integrity, it becomes clear that Stoicism does not seek to detach us from life, but rather to anchor us more firmly within it. To live in alignment with reason and virtue is to embrace life fully, its joys, its sorrows, and its fleeting moments. The Stoics remind us that the measure of a good life is not in its length, nor in the abundance of possessions, but in the quality of our actions and the clarity of our character. True freedom, they taught, is found in self-mastery. When you are no longer enslaved by fear, anger, or desire, you begin to live as nature intended, balanced, calm, and whole. You no longer chase after illusions or resist what is inevitable. Instead, you move through life with quiet strength, shaping your choices with wisdom and courage. In this way, each day becomes meaningful, not because of external recognition, but because of the inner harmony you cultivate. Yet the Stoics were not naive about human weakness. They understood how easily we are pulled away from virtue by the noise of the world, the pressure of others, or the storms within our own hearts. And that is why they urged daily practice, reflection in the morning, examination in the evening, and mindfulness throughout the day. A life of integrity is not achieved in a single decision, but in countless small acts repeated over time. Each moment offers a chance to return to yourself, to choose what is right, to act with compassion, and to remain steady. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius reminds us that no one can rob us of our capacity to act with justice, kindness, and courage. Even when the world seems unjust, even when life feels heavy, the way of virtue remains open before us. Seneca tells us that adversity does not diminish us, it reveals us. And Epictetus, once a slave, showed by his own life that freedom resides not in external circumstances, but in the mastery of the soul. This is the heart of Stoicism, the recognition that while we cannot command what happens, we can always command how we respond. To live well, then, is to live each day as if it were a complete life in itself, with gratitude for what is given, acceptance of what is taken, and unwavering commitment to what is within our control. Let this thought settle deeply within you. Life is not waiting to begin. It is happening now, in this very moment. Every breath, every choice, every quiet decision of the heart carries weight. And though time is fleeting, virtue is eternal. What we practice in the present echoes into the future and becomes the legacy we leave behind. So walk forward with calmness. Carry with you the lessons of Stoicism, not as distant ideals, but as living guides for each step of your journey. Remember that strength is not found in hardness, but in resilience. Peace is not the absence of struggle, but the presence of understanding. And happiness is not given by fortune, but discovered within the disciplined, reflective life. As you continue your path, may you live not in fear of what may come, but in gratitude for what is now. May you cultivate wisdom in your thoughts, courage in your actions, and kindness in your heart. This is the Stoic way. This is the art of living well. If these reflections have spoken to you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments, to like this video, and to subscribe so that these teachings may continue to accompany you. Together we can build a space of calm reflection, where ancient wisdom guides modern lives toward clarity, resilience, and peace.